Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Mishna Yomi. Today we're learning Sheviis, Perek Zayin, Mishnayos, Vav and Zayin. Learn more about these halachas about biur, getting rid of the Sheviis when it's kala from the chaya in the field. The new halacha about hana achar biuran, maybe there's a het there. If you don't get the biur by destroying it, not only by eating it, you get the hana. If the hana comes after the biur, the same halachas apply. Let's get into a Mishnah Vered Vakofer Vaketef Aldetem. Yesh Lam Sheviis Ultman Sheviis. These are talking about types of plants you use for their scent. For example, a vered is a rose. You take the juice of the rose or whatever it is, the scent, and you collate it and use it for the smell. Vakofer. Kofer is another type of plant that's used for its fragrance. Vakatef, persimmon, a farsimon in Hebrew. This is a persimmon, it's a type of fruit. They take the oil and the juices from the fruit and make it into perfumes. Valetem, another type of perfume. Yesh lahem shvius with the man shvius. While all of these things can be made into fragrances, they also, when they're in their natural form, a rose, for example, you can go over to it and smell it right there and then. So, in one sense, you're going to benefit from it right now by smelling it. In another sense, you could actually take the essence of these plants and use them for fragrances afterwards. So, the most of these plants, a substantial part of people get hana by going over and smelling them. So therefore, it's hana ubiran shava. The hana comes at the time when you're using it. So therefore, it has kedusha shvius. And also, when Zman Biur comes, you have to mavire it. You have to get rid of it. When it's no longer available in the field, you have to get rid of it from your house. You have to use it and get rid of it. Rabbi Shimon Omer ein laketef shvius meisha ein al peri. Rabbi Shimon says that persimmon is basically used for its fragrance, and you don't use it to smell it. Persimmon can be eaten, I think, also. It's a fruit, but most people don't use it. It's not. It's used for fragrance, and it's not really smelled in its fruit form. So therefore, it's called hana achar biuran. First, you destroy the fruit and grab the fragrances, and then you take the fragrances and put it in a perfume, or put it in cologne. So therefore, it's hana achar biuran, and therefore, there's no kedusha shvius. It's an interesting halacha. If you didn't know this, the Gemara in Sukkah talks about this. If it's hana achar biuran, the main hana, the fragrance, the perfume or the cologne that you get, is after you destroyed it. You burned it, and now you got the fragrances out. So therefore, we pass in there. Shimon the Rav says, and therefore there's no kedusha shmita by it, even when it's in its fruit form. Zayin vered chadash shekavshu b'shem and yashan. Let's say you have, right, we're talking about making perfumes again. So you have a rose here. I'm going to use the scent. You put it in some oil, yayin. It could be wine. It could be a different type of oil. So this oil was from a tree or a plant that was from Sheviis, right? Not from Sheviis. Yelakate, the chadash it's a rose grown during Shemitah, but the juices, the yayin, is from Sheviis. Yelakate es hayvered. Before Zman Biur comes, you can take the rose petals off, and the rest of the thing is mutter. It's not chayiv and biur because most of it now is the yayin. Is whatever when the rose is gone, the petals of the rose are gone. So even though it absorbs some of the rose, but it's just the oil of Sheviis and not chayiv in Sheviis, no kedusha Sheviis by oil of Sheviis. V'yayim v'yashim l'chadash chayiv biur. However, if you had a seventh year rose and you put it in juices from the eighth year, which means that it's already achar zman biur. If you have juice from the eighth, it's already in the eighth year, and you still have that the rose from Shemitah, so therefore it already got mixed together, and zman biur came. So zman biur asers it, because you have to get rid of it at that point, and therefore, like we're going to see, no saint tam. Once it gave tam less than shishim, it gives tam the roses at least 1/60th of compared to the rest of the mixture, so therefore it asers the whole thing as chayav biur. Charuvin chadashim shekavsham b'yayin yasham yishan chadash chayav biur. They would do the same thing with carobs, I guess, in order to get the fragrance from them. In this case, we're talking about where even if you put it in an oil from the sixth year, but we're talking about by the carobs where the general practice was to wait till they absorb after this manbir in the 7th year. So whether you use the 6th-year oil or the 8th-year oil, it's already after manbir. The aser is beno seintam. Zakal kosher beno seintam chayiv lavar. As long as there is no seintam, it's less than a shishim. It gives tam or fragrance to the mixture. You have to mavar mimbisha eno mino. That's when you're talking about two things that are not the same. The oil and the rose are different. Min b'mino kolshu. Let's say you have rose and rose oil. That's min b'mino. So even kolshu, even if it's 1 to 1,000, it would still aser, still be manbir, as long as part of it was from Sheviis. Sheviis, it was after his manbir. Sheviis oseras kolshu b'mina v'shalom b'mina b'no seintam. What we said before, the general rule. So min b'she'eno mino is no seintam. Min b'mino is kolshu. Sheviis. And even the people that hold min b'mino is not the kolshu. By Sheviis, everyone agrees kolshu b'mina v'shlo b'mina b'no seintam. Sheviis is more chomer that it answers everything. Min b'mino even kolshu. Shlo b'mina b'no seintam, when it's min b'she'eno mino, like all the other halachas, it's no seintam. We'll get more into min b'mino in general versus she'eno mino and Sheviis in Ian HaMishnah is coming up next.